The views expressed on Cam, Chris, and Alex Talking Football are not those of End of the Internet LLC, copyright 2012, its affiliates, or any of its partners. If you are offended by the subject of bones, dads, sneaking downstairs, non-sexual hugs, DeviantArt, lanyards, tattooed women, Reggie White, police officers, and individuals who resemble Wes Welker, you may not want to listen to Cam, Chris, and Alex Talking Football. In other words, content may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. This is Cam, Chris, and Alex Talking Football.
Imparting her moist lips.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, hang on, crazy pants.
Let her talk, woman.
Featuring Cam.
Sorry. I was laughing at your clothes.
Chris.
His mind brain is permanently rejecting his real identity! Mind brain? That's a thing? Shut up.
And Alex.
But someday I'm gonna write a book about this place. A real smackaroony.
Cam, Chris, and Alex Talking Football.
I am drunk, or I wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah, no, I am shit-faced.
Careful, cause in about 3 drinks you're gonna get all boo-hooey and ask me to pump a baby in you.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Cam, Chris, and Alex Talking Football, the return from Korea, bringing back the podcast for the first time in almost a year. And we're kicking it off with the first real day of free agency, in which we are getting to read out loud the wonderful Walter football grades, give our discussion, and a lot more, here with Chris and Alex. And, boys, where do you want to start off?
First, I was going to say, we should introduce our special guest. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan and Jets quarterback Chad Pennington.
Glad to have you guys.
But yeah, let's jump into everybody's favorite team of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, there's a lot to talk about here. We all know that the one really big trade, but they made a couple of moves before free agency technically began that were pretty entertaining and worth talking about.
Well, the good one that they made was retaining Brandon Graham, even though he hasn't gotten as much playing time as I think he should have recently.
Definitely agree. I think he was one of the most important ones that they re-signed. I've been a really big fan of him ever since he was drafted, but they never really used him correctly. Hopefully this is a sign that they will actually free him.
Yeah, they got pretty good value on that deal as well, and now that they cut Trent Cole before that happened, he should be coming into more playing time. Especially considering their first rounder last year, Marcus Smith, has proven to just be an absolute nothing so far through 1 year. So I can't really see anybody competing for snaps for him.
I've seen some rumors that he might even be cut soon if they can't trade, Deion Jordan style rumor, like we were seeing last year, that he may be cut if they can't get any value for him because he's just made absolutely no progression, as if anything, regress since college. But
I've forgotten about him entirely.
Yeah, I think everyone else has too. I think since Frank Gore backed out of his contract, I think the only really defensible move that the Eagles have made other than that one is retaining Mark Sanchez, who was passable at times last year. But that was, I think a lot of people saw that as a sort of a holding position move while they draft their new quarterback to keep Sanchez. But it's starting to seem like that's not the case with this Nick Foles, Sam Bradford trade.
Yeah, To jump right into that, actually, I'll let one of you guys take the lead because I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one, and I want you guys to pan it first.
Well, I'm not going to pan it straight away like I know Cam really wants to. The thing is, we all know, I'll just, try to get into the facts that everyone else already knows. We already know that Sam Bradford was, taken first overall and was really highly paid, but was also never healthy. So we never really got to see him become what he could be. Whereas Nick Foles, comes in there into Philadelphia and he wins a lot of games. And 1 year, his stats are really good. But you notice he's not actually a good quarterback. He's not fully stepping into his throws and everything. So the general consensus around, at least us, I guess, is that neither of these quarterbacks is really good or anything. But I'm pretty sure, Cam, you feel like the Rams won this one.
Yeah, the Rams probably won this one realistically. Foles, I know that Alex hates him, but I think that if you put Foles on the Rams team last year, they could have, battled for a wild card spot. I honestly think, because the rest of their team was actually pretty good, except for the quarterback position. And along with that plus, I think it depends on what happens with Sam Bradford naturally, because there are some interesting conditional picks built into the deal depending on whether Sam Bradford, I believe, whether he starts and whether he makes it into the playoffs. I believe that will determine whether they get a third or fourth round pick sent over to the Eagles, I believe. And if he never starts a game, I think they get an extra third round pick.
Didn't they originally try and write in stuff that you just can't write into the contract? Like if Bradford was a starter at the beginning of the season or something, they're just like, you can't write a contract.
I'm pretty sure it's against the CBA, so they couldn't do it. But
yeah, the new CBA won't allow that. I don't even think the old CBA would allow that.
I think that there's some confusion as to what exactly the conditions are right now, but as it stands, it depends heavily on Bradford's playing time. So the Eagles have built in the Rams have built in some interesting verbiage to the contract that may limit the damage from this, but we'll have to see.
I mean, so I'm looking at this from the Eagles' perspective. You know, I think everybody agrees pretty much the Eagles got killed on this. Like, that the Eagles had to give up. I mean, nobody really cares about the fact that they moved Nick Foles on a rookie deal. Like, that was kind of irrelevant. But the fact that they were giving up picks for 1 year of Sam Bradford on an overpriced deal, I mean, that you can name your criticisms with it. Like Nick Foles has put up better numbers than Sam Bradford in his limited time in the league. Nick Foles is like exceptionally cheaper than Sam Bradford. You probably could have just gotten Sam Bradford next year on a deal similar to what, you know, guys like Matt Castle and Mark Sanchez are getting paid, unless he had like a phenomenal year in St. Louis, in which case, you know, do you really want to be the guy stuck paying Sam Bradford $18 million a year because he had one good year in his walk season? Like there's a million reasons possibly out there to like argue against this. Here's my logic in support of it. I'm going to tie it directly into the Alex Smith trade from a couple of years ago, which we universally panned when the Chiefs gave up like the 34th overall pick to get Alex Smith. And it was 2 picks, wasn't it? And they gave up like an extra
second rounder the next year.
It was 2 second rounders, and like we all just like absolutely dumped on the trade. Like, Alex Smith's not worth this. You can find somebody better than this. But I think we might be like reaching a point, or rather have reached a point now, where quarterbacks are scarce again. Because there were those couple years when it was like, okay, Alex Smith's like the 27th best starting quarterback in the league. There were only like 3 or 4 teams that really didn't need a quarterback. But like a lot of these guys that we thought were good aren't actually good, and nobody's really stepped up in the past couple of draft classes, with the exception of Carr and Bridgewater last year. Like the quarterback's been a bit of a dead zone for a couple of years now, and a lot of teams are starting to fall off. So my logic here is this. We know that the 2 big dings on Sam Bradford, or the 2 things that everybody brought up while he was in St. Louis, were that he had nobody to throw to and he had nobody to protect him. So the guy got absolutely killed and got hurt all the time, and when he was healthy, like, he couldn't attack the field deep. You know, he'd throw across the middle and like have balls clanging off guys' hands and stuff. The Eagles fix one of those issues immediately by having the great offensive line that they do.
That's right.
The one marketable skill that Bradford has shown so far in the NFL is his mid-range accuracy, and that's something that's very, very important in the Chip Kelly attack. I see the reasons that he fits their system. I think that gambling a conditional pick that could at worst be a second rounder, that you might have a guy who's like prime Matt Schaub, which, I mean, not that prime Matt Schaub's particularly inspiring, but again, like, the Alex Smith deal worked out for the Chiefs. I think we can all agree that like the Chiefs have been relevant now for 2 years, almost solely because of Alex Smith. I mean, obviously there's a lot of other good players in that team, but like just the step up from, you know, the Tyler Palkos and the Matt Castles and the Brady Quinns that were running out there before they brought him in, and he really stabilized that position. Like, we can all make fun of him for not throwing any touchdown passes last year, but like having a stabilizing force at quarterback is absolutely a big deal. And
yeah.
They gave up a second-round pick in Nick Foles, effectively, to take a shot on Sam Bradford, and I think that's a reasonable price for that gamble, even if I don't think Sam Bradford's that good.
See, I don't necessarily agree with the logic on Alex Smith, because I don't think stabilizing your quarterback position is necessarily something you want to do if you're not getting someone who you think can take you to a Super Bowl. Now the Chiefs have a problem that they've stabilized their quarterback position with someone who's not good enough. And I think that's going to end up being a huge detriment to them for the next 4 or 5 years, and it's a shame, because they have a lot of talent on not only the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offensive side of the ball, and especially Jamal Charles. And they're not going to really be able to use it that well. Especially, I mean, they picked up Jeremy Maclin. How is Alex Smith going to be able to do anything with that at all? I mean, it's Maclin's, you know, most of his receptions, or his big receptions, were not yards after catch, but, you know, catches down the field. And it's not something Alex Smith can really provide. So, I mean, you're right. There is stability at the quarterback position now for Kansas City, but I would say it's a bad thing.
I mean, we're
No,
only. Go ahead.
When you lose your quarterback in the preseason, like I don't know that the better offensive line is going to save him. Honestly, he's made of glass.
And another point, I mean, they also don't have one of the perks of going to Philadelphia a week ago would have been that they have an excellent running game, and that's also no longer guaranteed with the trade of LaShawn McCoy, which I think the Eagles won, but when you got Sam Bradford behind center, I think you might have won. I would have probably evaluated a little bit differently in that context.
Well, yeah, at this point they still need to get a running back, so they're very much in the market there. They're not going to go out with Darren Sproles as the lead back. So who knows, maybe if they get a solid running back, then this trade will look a little bit better. It'll mitigate some of, whatever criticism you have of Sam Bradford.
It's still possible. There's still a lot of time left. They didn't get Gore, who went to Indianapolis, but I'm sure there's still. I believe that the rumor was that they're looking at DeMarco Murray, along with a couple of the.
There's a lot of rumors floating around this team right now. I really have absolutely no idea where they're going because they themselves have been so tight-lipped about everything, which seems to be like a Chip Kelly thing. Like, we were all under the impression Macklin is re-signing with them until all of a sudden he signed with the Chiefs, which, by the way, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but really don't think that was a good deal for the Chiefs or Macklin. Like, it just all around, just not a very logical fit for a lot of the reasons you brought up with the Alex Smith thing. But they've been very tight-lipped about things. I mean, they might be looking at guys in the draft. They could be looking at C.J. Spiller, and we just haven't heard it because they're keeping everything, pretty close to the chest right now. The Frank Gore thing was totally out of left field when it happened, then all of a sudden he was gone. Like, we really don't know what this team's going to do. They're kind of a wild card at this point.
There's a lot of strange things going on in Philly, but I think one of the more ominous things that's happened is the signing of Byron Maxwell to a $10 million a year deal for a cornerback. Because the last time there was a pair of quarterbacks who were signed for $10 million a year on long deals, they were Cortland Finnegan and Brandon Carr, and that doesn't bode very well for this deal, which didn't look very good from the beginning.
The thing about Maxwell is that he was a number 2 corner for the longest time. I'm just really hoping, for Philadelphia's sake, that they don't use him as a number 1. If you stick him on the right side, keep him as a number 2, then I guess it'll be fine. But in the meantime, they need a number 1, because I don't think Maxwell's a number 1.
I don't think he's a number 2 either. I think people are taking, including the Patriots and some other teams, are taking these corners who have thrived in a system that's designed for big-bodied corners to mitigate their weaknesses in Seattle, and are heavily, heavily overrating them for other schemes. I think Pete Carroll has done a lot with. I mean, if you remember, Brandon Browner wasn't even drafted. He came out of Oregon State and went almost straight to the CFL when he was finally scouted for Pete Carroll's system, and it just happened to fit perfully.
Yeah,
and I mean, he's picked
Alex
up a
actually
lot, and he wasn't
this.
a bust in New England or anything, but I don't think he was the player that a lot of people, the less educated football people expected him to be.
Yeah, Alex mentioned that when the Patriots originally picked him up, is that he's not going to be what everyone thought he was, and you're absolutely right about that. He does well because he has another better corner across that he can play from, and that the Patriots were playing that man up thing. They're just playing man press all the time, and he was able to get away with that. He was one of the most penalized players in the NFL, despite missing the first 4 games. But there you have it.
Right.
Yeah,
and a lot of it was also the
penalties in 9
safeties,
games
which
was
the
not-
Patriots had McCourty, so that helped a lot.
Yeah.
But the Cam Chancellor or Thomas duo masked a lot of the weaknesses that Browner had, and the Patriots were also able to mitigate that partially. I think that if Browner had gone to, for example, the Eagles instead of, say, Kerry Williams, I think that he would have done pretty poorly there. And I think Byron Maxwell isn't even as good as Browner.
I can agree
I don't
with
know
both
about
of
that. I'm gonna have to completely disagree with the idea that Maxwell's not as good as Browner, just because. I mean, when you watch Brandon Browner play cornerback, there's zero fluidity in that guy's hips. Like he pretty much has to use the sideline to his advantage.
Yeah,
or
he has
he's
to
not
win
gonna
at
be
the
able to
line
do anything.
too.
Win at the line, or use his size and strength to keep people near the sideline where the balls aren't catchable. Like he gets absolutely eviscerated over the middle of the field. I think Maxwell, while he's not on the level of fluidity that you want from a lot of these other guys, like he's at the very worst league average. Like. He's not going to kill you if he's got to cover somebody on a crossing route. Like, he's got a little bit more versatility to his game than Browner, and I think that's worth a lot more.
I think the Eagles got burned with the Kerry Williams deal on a player who stood out more in a scheme that masked his weaknesses, and I think that they're going to run into the same issue.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Ravens scheme didn't mask Kerry Williams' weaknesses. They just left them out there to be exposed. And then the Eagles did the same thing. And now, all of a sudden, we've got the Seahawks throwing their hat in the ring, thinking that a guy that was just cut on a 3-year, $15 million deal by the cornerback-starved Eagles is now worth 3 years, $18 million for the defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks. Ladies and gentlemen, you're defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks, settling on Kerry Williams.
In fairness, 3 for 15 is basically the same as 3 for 18 when you consider the cap adjustments that are coming.
Duo, refresh me on the lore here. Do you remember when we were playing Madden and we were doing that franchise and the computer auto-assigned you Sam Bradford?
Yes, it is fresh in my memory.
We were talking about
it's actually
Sam
the first thing
Bradford.
I thought about when he got
nightmares.
Felt like somebody left Chip Kelly's Madden on auto draft, and now they're stuck with Sam Bradford.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Duo does the entire time is like, Sam Bradford.
Oh no, he got distracted for a little bit when we started talking about dudes who look like they have cancer. But other than that, it was mostly
No,
Sam
we were
Bradford.
talking about guys who had really big heads, because we brought up the Alex Barron Madden picture. You know,
that's right.
The elusive Alex Barron, head the size of the Death Star picture from Madden. Truly a national treasure.
Wish we could show the podcast viewers that Eagles fan with the big.
It's called Big Head Cheat, Jeff.
But sticking into the NFC East, I think you said that the Eagles seem like a mystery, but I think even more mysterious right now is the Dallas Cowboys, who no one seems to know what in the world is going on with them right now, because they say they're interested in a lot of people, including DeMarco Murray, but there are other teams who are also showing interest in him, and it doesn't seem like the Cowboys are being particularly aggressive with Murray. And then also Des Bryant seems to be extremely discontented right now with something on social media because he's not happy.
The Des Bryant thing, yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot to work out between those two teams if they want to get a long-term deal done, but I think the reason we haven't heard much from the Cowboys is because they have like $3 million in cap space. Like, they have some opportunities to free some of it up if they absolutely have to make one of these signings happen, but like, the rumor about DeMarco Murray is that the Cowboys haven't even made him an offer because he's just like so far beyond what they can even afford to pay him that like there's no point. They just don't have the cap room to make any of these moves. They've kind of got to let the market settle on a lot of these guys. And I know they lost Justin Durant today. Bruce Carter's taking a couple visits.
They lost Jeremy.
Yeah, they lost Jeremy Parnell. I mean, Jeremy Parnell managed to make more money than the guy he was backing up last year, Doug Free, who was the one signing that the Cowboys have actually made, and it was a pretty smart one. Like I think that the price.
I think the other one was a mistake. The Cole Beasley re-signing was, I think, extremely excessive. $7 million guaranteed for a guy who hasn't really shown much in his career.
Yeah, but that's like the classic Jerry. Like there's going to be one of those every year. Like last year when Dan Bailey got a 7-year extension or whatever it was.
No.
It's like there's just some ridiculous Jerry contract that's usually inoffensive in terms of like its actual like numbers, just because it's spread out over so long. But what were the details on that Beasley deal? Like 4 years, 16 mil or something.
4 years,
like,
13 mil.
Yeah, it's like. It's bad, but it's inoffensively bad. Like, whatever. It's Cole Beasley. He's going to be your slot receiver. They're not going to find somebody to take his place. It's fine. I mean, especially when you consider that Dwayne "The Rock" Harris managed to get $17.5 million over 5 years from the New York Giants. Like,
that's offensive.
I mean, when you said there was another team you really didn't understand the motivation behind in the NFC East, I really thought you were going to segue into the Giants, because what the Giants have done makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
you don't
I
like
mean,
the Vereen signing?
The Vereen signing's fine, but the fact that they went out and gave a 5-year, $17.5 million deal to Dwayne Harris, they gave a 3-year, $12 million deal to JT Thomas, who couldn't even start for the Jaguars until people in front of him got hurt last year. I didn't even know who JT Thomas was when we started this podcast. Like, I saw that contract, I saw somebody getting paid all this money, I was like, what? Who is this guy? Like, what is going on here? Like, they're just, like... I mean, I know, like, we've been giving the Jaguars a lot of shit. I'm sure we'll get to that for like overpaying like fringy NFL players. The Giants are doing the same thing, except the Giants have $50 million less in cap room. Like, the Giants, until they get a JPP extension done, if they even want to get a JPP extension done, they're like only like $10 million under the cap now. Like, if that. And this is a team that needs a second pass rusher, a team that's really not good on the offensive line, a team that really has nothing at nickel corner, nothing at safety, because every safety on their roster is a free agent. And they're the Giants. They've never been good at linebacker. And these are the guys you're choosing to spend your money on the first day of free agency? It's just bizarre. Like,
this doesn't seem like a Coughlin team anymore. It seems like he's kind of given.
It's 2014. It's the year of the prophecy. You know how it goes.
It's 2015.
That's the other guy they signed. They signed one of your favorites, Cap. They brought in Jonathan Casillas on a 3-year, $11 million deal.
Which is way too much. I thought he would be back with the Patriots for like a vet man. I mean, people were talking about, Belichick won with all these free agencies signed during the year. Casillas didn't do anything. He was a nobody.
I'm surprised that Casillas is even in the NFL. Like, he was the guy I always signed at the end of fantasy draft on Madden because he was a linebacker with like 89 speed, and you could just put him on special teams all day.
Exactly.
Like, that's literally the only
value.
contribution. He's just a really fast linebacker with no football ability whatsoever.
That's exactly what NFL coaches do. They just put him on special teams.
And they're paying a lot for a special teamer.
Yeah,
I mean,
are. Both him and JT Thomas, are these like the new starting outside linebackers in
no
New York?
Way
I don't
JT
understand.
Thomas can start anywhere, but he's terrible.
Neither can Casillas. Like, what are they doing? I mean, the team has nothing at outside linebacker as usual because the Giants, they don't spend money on it. Then all of a sudden, you're choosing to spend $6.5 million combined year one on these two guys? Like, it's just it doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, when you look at even something like the Cardinals sign Lamar Woodley on a 1-year deal for the veteran minimum for his experience. Like, at least Lamar Woodley has upside. I mean, we all think he's done, but like, at least, there's like maybe a 10% chance that he has like a Sean Phillips type revival where like he has another good year or two in him and we just didn't see it coming. Like, there's no upside whatsoever to these deals. Your absolute best case scenario is that they're being paid what they deserve. Like, in your absolute, like, best of best scenarios, Jonathan Casillas is a $3 million player. He's never going to be better than that. That contract's never going to be a good value for you. You're crossing your fingers that you're getting your money's worth. It's just, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and that's what strikes me as being strange about this Giants team, is because it's not being built the way you would expect a Tom Coughlin team to be built. This is not like the kind of player that they went after in Jacksonville, when he was in Jacksonville, and B in the Giants since he's been here for the last decade or so. This is a huge departure from his previous modus operandi, and it's actually very strange, and it may indicate that Coughlin is taking less of a role in the GM booth, because this is I cannot compare this to any year he's had with any team before, because it makes no sense in that context.
I mean, that or he's senile, one of the two. Like, which he's like 80 years old now. I don't think anybody would be surprised.
I mean,
those
look at his
last
face on the
couple years
sidelines
of
of
the
every
Reagan
game. Come on.
presidency, like those years when Ronald Reagan didn't know what day of the week it was. Like, that's what we're getting from Tom Coughlin now.
That might have been his first president. Never mind.
But no,
Reagan jokes are
the
always
other team
welcome.
that's in the NFC East, which I think is interesting, because I think that we had a pact, and I think this is the first time in over a year that we've actually talked about the NFC East. So I think it's ironic that we started with them. But the other team that's been, I think, surprisingly quiet considering Dan Snyder's usual methods is the Reds.
Good point. Yeah, last I heard, the only one that they were interested in was apparently Brandon Browner.
Well, they signed Stephen Pyatt at like a 5-year, $20 million deal or something.
Yeah,
which
they
got a good deal for Pyatt.
It depends, because allegedly they're going to play him at 5-tech instead of nose. Like,
I don't like that very much.
Yeah, I don't like it.
He's small for a nose, but not like, I don't think inoffensively.
He's strong and girthy, and that's like all they really need him to do. Like,
I mean, more like an Antonio Smith.
I mean, they were playing Barry Cofield in those, and Cofield's not massive. Like Cofield's another smaller type nose. Like, you'd think Paya would be in the same mold. But yeah, no, I don't dislike the signing. Like, I think it makes sense. I think it's a bit of a red flag that the Bears switching into a 3-4 didn't even try to retain him, and all of a sudden now the Redskins are going to swoop in and sign him to play 3-4. But then again, it's the Bears dumpster fire. Who the hell knows? So
the Bears have been. I'm waiting for the Cutler move, because moving Brandon Marshall for that price is insane.
Well, I mean, I don't see the reason that they trade both, because a lot of the issues they were having with Brandon Marshall were that he was clashing with Cutler. So, like, if you're going to dump Brandon Marshall for nothing, like, you might as well keep Cutler at this point. You're not going to find a taker that's going to give you anything that's going to, like, either help you next year or be enough of an asset to make it worth just dumping him before it's cheaper to do so later. Like,
And I don't know anyone who's going to take that contract.
I mean, there were rumors that Tennessee was interested in him, and, like, the contract's really not bad, especially if the Bears are eating all the guaranteed money. Like, it's effectively a year-to-year deal at that point, but, like, the Bears just don't really have any incentive. It's not like they're getting a high enough pick to be able to, like, to dump him and feel good about it. They'd have to just totally blow the entire thing up, hit the self-destruct button, and not really get any assets from it. It's not like, you know, what the Saints did there with dealing your boy Jimothy for Max Unger and a first rounder. Where,
We should
like,
probably talk about that at some point.
Oh yeah,
we'll get to that. But
that's
This is the segue?
like, I mean, it can.
it's not the segue yet because we're not done with the Bears yet.
Yeah, I mean, we can
we'll
talk,
do the
we
Bears,
can
we'll
talk
do the
about
Bears.
Pernell McPhee. That's fine. Like,
I think when you compare departing Ravens outside linebacker or just pass rushers in general, because I know McPhee lined up in multiple places. When you look at the Kruger deal and you compare it to the McPhee deal based on what they showed in Baltimore, I think this deal makes no sense. Because the Kruger deal was panned widely by all three of us at the time, and this is worse in every conceivable way except for guaranteed
I agree.
money.
I agree.
Makes no sense.
I think
like
that I like McPhee too. I think he's a great guy in a multiple front defense. I don't know if that's the defense that they're going to actually be running.
I don't think so.
It's
but-
just Fangio. It's not the defensive run.
Yeah, I mean, but, like, I don't know. Like, McPhee's a useful rotational player, and a lot of the appeal from guys like that comes from the fact that you can rotate them and have them fresh all the time. The Bears don't have anyone for him to rotate with. What is he going to rotate with, Shea McClellan or something? Like, there's no depth on this team. He's a guy that's going to have to play 50 snaps a game against whoever the other team's best offensive lineman is. And McPhee's just not that good. Like, I mean, at least, you know, even, like, looking back on the Kruger signing, like you brought up, like, they had Jabal Sheard. You know, they brought in Barkevius Mingo. They had other guys that, like, whether they were actually good 3-4 pass rushers or not, like, they were somewhat credible. Like, someone was going to try and block them. Who the fuck are you going to try and block on the Bears? Like, remember, like, 2 years ago before Junior Gillette broke out, when everyone looked at the Saints outside linebackers and are like, we don't even need to block these guys. They're all bad. Like, that's where the Bears are at right now. They've just got nobody that's even worth throwing bodies at. Just like
Jared Allen.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Moving Jared Allen to 3-4 after he's been bad in a 4-3 for however many years, because that's going to improve him.
They only like two.
But either way, like Jared Allen's not just going to, like, snap back to life. There's nothing here that suggests that. And I think that McPhee was a guy that was more valuable for the Ravens than the team that ended up paying him. I think it was kind of the same deal with Kruger. And the Ravens are going to keep doing this. They're going to keep churning out, you know, these bodies whenever they're, like, past the point of being an asset within the constraints of the Ravens cap. They're just going to move on. The Ravens are going to take another draft pick, and they're going to use it to draft whoever the next guy is that's going to fill that role. Like,
Yes, on that note, how about the Packers this offseason? I mean, they've retained everyone that they needed to at a cheap price, and they're going to get just hella pick from the compensatory draft very soon.
yeah, the Packers killed it. Like, the Cobb deal is extremely reasonable. It's short, so it's great for Cobb as well, because, like, people seem to forget that Cobb's going to be 24 before the start of the next season. So
Well,
that
it's a
deal's-
lot younger than I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, no, he was drafted when he was 20. He was the youngest player taken in that class.
Oh.
And he's going to be up for another deal after playing for Aaron Rodgers with 4 years at 28, and is going to make bank again. So the deal was smart for him. It was structured well. He's not making, like, top flight receiver money, but he's really close to it. I feel like $10 million is very, very reasonable for somebody that a lot of teams on the free agent market probably didn't know how they were going to use. I mean, it's the best fit for him. It's the best fit for the Packers, and the Bulaga deal was even better.
I thought the Bulaga deal was good.
The fact that they got him for what, $7 million more than the Texans paid Derek Newton, who's had half of a good season in his career. Like, Bulaga was comfortably the best tackle in the market and didn't even really test it. Like, the only other team that was rumored to even have significant interest was the Bills, and he, like, apparently wasn't even taking their calls. Like, he was negotiating solely with the Packers.
And I'm pretty sure they're going to get a compensatory fourth for that absolutely insane deal that Devon House.
It might not be a fourth. It might end up being a fifth, just because the way compensatory picks are rationed, there's only a certain amount, and it's based on like the amount of deal signed. And I think just with the amount of money that's going to be flying around this offseason, it's probably going to get bumped down to the fifth round. But yeah, that Devon House deal was crazy. Like, there's no way to.
He's a dime corner. Period.
I think he's a nickel.
He's a
corner.
good dime corner, but
yeah,
you're right. He's a dime corner.
I think he's an okay nickel corner. For $6 million a year, no thanks. I'll pass. Especially when you realize like somebody like Tremont Williams is probably not going to sniff that. Like, I mean, I'm aware Tremont Williams is a couple years older, but like he's objectively a better football player on every level. And at some point, you have to start looking at these guys that are like 26 and 27 and 28 hitting free agency for the first time. And you can't just go, oh, well, they're young, they're going to get better. Because they've already been in the NFL for 4+ years. Like, for the most part, you know what they are. Like, I don't...
There have been a lot of deals like that this offseason. Like, more so than even the year with Robert Meacham and a couple others that were just insane. Like, there's been even more like Robert Meacham style contracts this year, and that's been confusing.
I think it's just the sheer amount of money that's out there. Like, the way the cap has jumped every year, teams are now realizing they can take these like gambles that some of these guys are gonna like come into their own and like more playing time than they had with their last team. It's just because there's no other real way to explain it. Like, $4 million a year for Owen Daniels, like that's crazy. Like, it's got to be the fact that these teams are flush with cap space, and they're just like, we're just going to spend it on anybody that we have a good scouting report on. I mean, we haven't gotten the contract details of something like Malcolm Smith to Oakland yet, but that's a guy with a lot of upside that, like, you could totally see, you know, somebody making a legitimate argument for giving like something similar to the deal that Dan Skuta got from the Jaguars. But
I think this has been the offseason the most that defines who the good GMs and who the bad GMs are in the NFL. This one more than any that I can remember.
Well, I would agree with that, except that this offseason's not quite over yet. And I think that a lot of the times the best GMs, they sort of wait until this high spending gets out of the way. I mean, if you're going to get a good free agent, then, you know, spend high for him early on, then fine, whatever. But the good GMs, I don't think they really gamble so much on players. They wait till the market levels out a little bit. So I don't know. I'm kind of waiting to see who I'm going to call a good GM until this offseason progresses a little bit. And I mean, certainly after the draft, although free agency for me is a little bit more fun.
Right, but I mean, there's just some. You've got first right of negotiation with Wisniewski, and you spend $45 million on Rodney Hudson. Like, I can't see the justification for that in any context.
Don't pan that deal yet. I mean, if we pan it loudly enough, I'm sure Reggie McKenzie will just find a way to have Hudson fail his physical and go sign somebody else for that money instead. Like,
wasn't there?
You never know.
That's going to happen again.
I think it's just always rumored at this point with them. I don't think anybody actually trusts the Raiders at this point, and rightfully so. Like, after that, I mean, that was an absolute travesty the way that went down with this Half-Old deal last year. It was just embarrassing.
Oh, so funny.
Like, I feel like that's a fireable offense. Like there's no way.
It was the same situation where you've got first right of negotiation with a superior player. In that case, it was Jared Beldier. They let him go try to pick up an objectively inferior guy, and then they only withdraw on it when the public firestorm is just so awful that they have no other choice.
Yeah, it's just
I don't see how Mark Davis sees his coach doing that and says, "Oh yeah, it's fine, whatever." Toss those hair, get him back in there, make more terrible things.
Yeah, but do you guys want to wrap up the NFC North first before we move on? Because the other two teams have been super active.
Yeah, the Vikings have been quiet. We're kind of waiting for the AP domino to fall.
Yeah, they're thinking about getting Stephen Ridley. So
they brought in Chris Culliver as well, which I like for them. I think he'd be good across from Xavier Rhodes, and then they'd kick Captain Munnerlyn to the slot. Like, I like that trio of corners. I know they were in the market for a safety to play with Harrison Smith, but there's apparently nobody that's that awful interesting to them. So we'll see if anything ends up coming of that. But
they threw some dumpster money at Tom Johnson and Sean Hill, which I really liked the Sean Hill signing. Don't really care about the Tom Johnson.
Well, I mean, the Sean Hill signing's fine when you realize that Teddy Bridgewater's making like $1.5 million next year, and like $1.75 million the year after that. So like they're paying their top 2 quarterbacks combined like $3 million. Like, okay, sure, like no big deal. Or I guess it's like probably more closer to 4 or 5 because Sean Hill got like $3 million a year, which is reasonable backup quarterback money. Like I have no issue with that.
Definitely.
Tom Johnson had an okay year last year. If they think he's, not nothing, like that's fine. Like I'm more confident in the Vikings' ability to evaluate their own player than had somebody like the Jaguars went, you know what, Tom Johnson, here's $14 million, come play for us next year. Then I'd be scratching my head. But I'm kind of fine with the Vikings, like knowing what they have. I mean, I was the only one that defended the Everson Griffin deal, I think, last year, and that looked like it worked out pretty well because they were well aware of the player they had and paid a rate that seems pretty reasonable now, 1 year into the deal.
Yeah, and Spielman continues to get, magic draft picks out of franchises for that didn't need to spend them with the Castle trade as well. Which I don't know how they got multiple draft picks out of a player that they were going to cut. I don't think there's any question about that they were going to cut.
Well, it wasn't really multiple draft picks. It was like they exchanged like a 7th for a 6th, and then got like another 6th or something. Like
they got a 5th, they gave up a 6th, and got a 7th.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like they got a 5th rounder and traded down from the 6th to the 7th. Like that. I mean, they got a pick, which is nice. Good props to them for getting that. Still not nearly as crazy as the fact that the Texans managed to get a 7th rounder from the Rams for Case Keenum after the Rams cut Case Keenum last year. Like that's a bit crazy. But
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, like it's totally fine and totally justifiable as a conditional pick if they didn't straight cut him for nothing off their practice squad last year. It's like, really? I don't know. But yeah, I've liked the Vikings offseason. They've been quiet. They've been lying in wait. They're probably going to try and find a third tackle who looks somewhat competent to try and push Matt Khalil in case Khalil actually is as bad as he's looked the last 2 years.
God, I hope he isn't.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not even a Vikings fan.
Sad.
I just want him to be better. Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, that was
Khalil
embarrassing.
won as soon as his brother went down. Everything just fell.
They draw from each other's power, and like now Ryan has all the power, and Matt needs to steal some of it back. But yeah, the Vikings are kind of a TBD at this point.
So
the Lions, the Detroit Lions
pick. That's nice.
Yeah, the Haloti Nada trade. We got to talk about that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's. I think
it's a win-win for both teams.
I mean, if the Ravens really didn't see a better way to get that cap space, then yeah. And I think at this point, the Ravens feel like they'd rather get out of Haloti a year or two early than be stuck with like a 5-year extension and have to eat that $12 million or so it would have cost them their cap in 2019 and 2020 when he's like barely in the rotation. Because he is a guy that's had a lot of ticky-tack injuries. He's been really banged up. He's got a bigger body type. You don't really know like when the expiration date on that guy is. My bigger issue with the deal is they didn't really get much for him. They got a 4th and a 5th for 1 year of Haloti Nada at $16 million. I feel like they were, unless they want to do something with this cap space that they got from trading him, like you would have just been better off letting him play out the year and letting him walk next year, taking your compensatory pick, and just having a better roster this year. Like I don't think they got enough.
Is this the inverse version of the Eugene Monroe trade?
Oh, the he's just leaving anyway?
Right.
Well, I mean, if they were dead set on cutting him, then to get a 4th and a 5th for a player on a $16 million 1-year deal is good value. Like I have no issue with that. And I get why the Lions did it, because the Lions love to collect Ravens spare parts, just like the Colts do. So I'm sure the Colts also submitted a draft pick.
If I weren't busy video gaming right now, I would debate this. I would debate you up and down on this, Alex, but I'm video gaming.
No, I've pretty much said everything I need to say. Like I think Haloti's still a good player. I think if they decided like it was his time to go and they were going to cut him, then they did good to get this. I just am not sure it was the right idea. Like there's not really much more to say about it. You think that he
That's
pretty much had to be cut no matter what?
They were going to cut him anyway because we were just so low regardless. Like even to sign draft picks, we didn't even have that. We didn't even have enough to sign our first round draft.
We can always get Joe Flacco to renegotiate.
Much less a free agent.
I mean, you could always have renegotiated some of these guys, like you said. Like there are deals that you can play around with the money on to make it work. The Ravens weren't totally hamstrung. They could have made some things happen if they wanted to, and the direction they chose to go with was getting rid of Haloti, which is fine. Like, it cleared out a lot of room. I just hope that we don't go into the year with 10 million in cap room when, you know, like we account for like our draft pick signings and re-signing Darian Stewart, and then just do nothing with the rest of it. Like,
the renegotiation conundrum, I think, has led to an interesting conclusion in a different area. Because the rumor that I heard recently was that the reason that Jimmy Graham was traded to the Seahawks is because the Saints approached Drew Brees and said, "You're a $24 million cap hit this year. Pull a Tom Brady, or we have to trade Jimmy Graham." And he refused to take a pay cut renegotiation. And so the Saints were forced to trade Jimmy Graham in order to make cap space, because they already made quite a bit with the Junior Galette renegotiation added $12 million to the cap, which almost put us in the green. But the choice was for Drew Brees: either renegotiate your caps hit / take a pay cut like Brady did, or we're trading Jimmy Graham. Which I think that revelation makes this deal make a lot more sense to me, because before I didn't really understand it, as I felt like if you were going to tank, then you don't want to acquire Max Unger, and if you don't want to tank, then you shouldn't be trading Jimmy Graham. And I think that confusion has left me a little clueless to what Mickey Loomis and the rest of the front office are doing at this point with the Saints. Because if it was me, I'd be tanking. I'd trade Jimmy, trade Drew, trade pretty much anyone you can get first rounders for, and just get the hell out, and then try to rebuild in a few years. But you just added a 28-year-old center who's likely going to want to re-up soon, and who is a good player, but this isn't going to be the guy who puts this over, especially without Jimmy Graham. And that, I don't think I get the direction that the Saints are going with.
That's a shame, because if Drew just wanted more money, he could just make another commercial with One Direction.
Did somebody say about Pepsi?
I mean, he's very marketable. He's got tons of personality.
Snoops isn't going to agree with me on the whole sellout thing, but Drew Brees, come on, sell it.
Well,
I don't know why you
Richard Sherman did a beef
me
jerky
on that one.
commercial. Shut the hell up.
No, because we've had this conversation before. That's the only reason I'm.
I
Tom Brady
don't really
monologues,
remember
you get
a
out of
conversation about Drew Brees being a sellout. I think he's a... Oh, what? For appearing in commercials?
Yeah, that one specific.
Oh,
Dude,
well, yeah, I think that if you can market yourself well, if you can appear in a commercials, then fine, whatever. I don't think that Brees is as good of an actor as Peyton Manning is, which really drives down my opinion, but it is what it is.
Dude, I would hawk butt dildos and Lolicon for fucking millions of dollars. Like, no shame whatsoever. I do not hold that against him at all.
Exactly. It's like the Revis trade, or not trade, the Revis, deal that happened today. It's like, if you blame him at all, if you call him greedy for taking the money, then, like, come on. I'm not trying to be like an Ayn Rand sort of like, you should constantly be greedy at all times sort of thing. But, like, look at what this game does to your body. Look at what this game does to, like, your family relationships. Of course you should go take the money. If you take the money and lose now, then, like, what's the problem? If he just went to New England just to win a ring so that could drive up his asking price, good for him. This guy's brilliant. He's the Bill Belichick of getting deals.
Yeah, he'll probably hit 200 million before his career's over. It's very impressive. But
good for him.
Yeah, it's good. No, I agree. But
no, I'm all in favor of that. I'm definitely in favor of that. I can't speak from personal experience. I haven't had millions of dollars presented in front of me. I'm just wondering where, like, self-respect kind of steps in in the case of commercials and stuff.
I can't hear you. I'm
saving
in my Scrooge McDuck money silo. Well, excuse me.
But will he ever truly be happy?
Yeah. Very.
I really hope he fills a swimming pool with, like, melted down Sacagawea dollars and just, like, swims around flipping the double bird to Walter Chaprinsky. That's all I want. Like,
no, it's gonna be poop painted gold.
See,
is that just that had the
disgusting.
pool of poop? No, you know that picture.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I love that.
I'm kind of glad, but anyway,
I feel like if the Saints would have gone somewhere else, particularly an AFC trade partnership, NFC, and gotten maybe a first and a second or something similar to that, because I think that they could have gotten that for Jimmy from a dumb and or talent-starved team. I would have preferred that much. I would have been happy about trading him for that, but I think this deal is irritating and or frustrating for me.
I mean, I'm at this point fully prepared to die on the Jimmy Graham is overrated hill, so I like the trade for the Saints. Like,
well, was I not the original flag bearer for that hill? Did I not die on that battlefield while the generals just ran ahead of me? Your fucking cavalry now trying to claim credit.
I can't remember like thinking particularly highly of him. I just think like I mean, it's one thing to be like a catch first tight end. It's another thing to be a catch only tight end, especially when the NFL has now had 3 years to adapt like the new meta of tight ends like being like a big deal. Like now that everybody has a Jamie Collins on their team to chase around these big tight ends and like actually compete with them in coverage, I think that like a lot of these guys are overvalued. I think the Broncos realized it when they didn't even make an offer to Julius Thomas. I think, a perennially dumb franchise like the Jaguars didn't realize it when they handed $47 million to Julius Thomas. Like, I just think that, and I think probably the Seahawks realized that too. Like, the fact that Jimmy Graham plays tight end isn't that big of a deal. They just needed somebody that was big and could catch passes. Like, I mean, he might line up as a receiver every play for them. Like, they might just not use him as a tight end at all. Like, we don't really know what they've got in store for him. But as far as, like, this move tight end, being, like, the newest fad in the NFL, I think it's sort of, like, already starting to pass, Rob Gronkowski is going to be Rob Gronkowski. He's uncoverable regardless because you can actually line him up all over the franchise, all over the formation, and he's actually like a good blocker and a good pass catcher from in line, and gives you actual value when he's not spread out in the slot, trying to dunk on some 5'8" nickel corner.
It's still the funniest thing whenever teams somehow get that matchup. It's like, yeah, we'll put Buster Screen's 5'9" ass out there on Gronkowski. Oh, what, he scored a touchdown? What the hell? What happened? There was a communication breakdown.
No,
Captain,
no, that's
chase
not
him
true.
around the
Because
field.
I had someone in the Saints topic tell me that Senquez Golson beat O.J. Howard over the top for that football for the interception in the Ole Miss Alabama game.
Here we go.
And because of that, Senquez Golson, as a literal 5'6" slot corner, is going to make it in the NFL.
Oh, well, that's apparently all it takes. Like, it's okay. They're good small corners. Brent Grimes is, very good, but like most of them, you got to be at least a little bit taller. We saw Kyle Arrington get burned constantly in the Super Bowl, and he's 5'10", so they had to bring in a guy who's 5'11".
And that actually ended up working out, believe it or not.
I remember it.
Yeah, I know we have very happy memories about that blah 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 Super Bowl whatever rings.
Actually, what it was is they moved Brown around to the other guy, and then they brought in Malcolm. But
right.
Still waiting for my Brent Grimes jersey.
I already mailed that out to you.
Yeah, he sent him from Korea. It just takes a long time for the ponies to swim across the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. Like,
I asked him for my jersey, but I heard he's still waiting for Flower to send him 50.
You triggered me right in the middle of the night, right in the middle of a podcast.
That's effed up, dude. Don't go effing with Snoops like that.
Let's get back on track here. How about the Colts and all of their fucking signings? This is reminding me of the Eagles' dream team. What? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Did you want something to say, or are you back to your video game?
It was literally not important.
No, I don't know if
I ever told you guys or not, but Sal actually owes another one of my friends like $50, unironically, from like a year ago.
And you didn't tell me this before I got into the bet?
Like off a bet, and he's never paid it. He actually blocked all points of communication with the guy. Actually.
Well,
I keep PMing him on NFL League, so he never responds.
Yeah, the Colts they muscled into the Frank Gore conversation. It seems purely on the merit of guaranteed money, which they doubled up from the Eagles, which is I think surprising considering he's 32.
Where are you hearing that? Like I heard the original deal reported for the Eagles was 7.5 guaranteed, and it's the exact same amount that he got from the Colts.
No, I heard it was $3 million guaranteed.
I heard the original deal was 3 years, $15 million with 7.5 guaranteed from the Eagles. I heard he actually took less money to go to the Colts.
That's interesting. Then.
Yeah, like
I'm seeing 7.5 million guaranteed on Walter Football, so
it's got to be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walt would never lie to him. Like that would just be something that somebody that doesn't care about running their website would do. Like somebody that's just chasing the money instead of trying to win titles. How could he be
truly happy if he didn't get the guaranteed money on there, right?
Exactly.
I don't think that. I still don't think this really makes sense for the Colts. For Frank Gore, it makes perfect sense. He looked slow last year, like truly sluggish. He looked Big Ten plotter slow.
I mean, I think it really just boils down to the fact that he's one of the best pass-protecting running backs in the NFL, and the Colts still want to throw the ball 50 times a game. So they're just going to use him as Andrew Luck's personal protector and give him, 180 carries on the year, which
Just
is
like
fine.
Sammy Morris 2.0.
The danger there, of course, is that Pep Hamilton goes full Pep Hamilton, and we see a 300 carry, 800 yard season from Frank Gore next year, which is fully within the realm of possibility, and I think is the only thing Colts fans need to be afraid of. Like otherwise, I mean, they're flush with cap space. Their running backs constantly get hurt, and Gore hasn't missed a game in 4 or 5 years. Like
He missed time a couple years ago.
No, he never
3
missed a
games, I
game.
believe.
He never missed a game. Like he played through that high ankle sprain. Like he was on the field the whole time, even though he was limping around like a jackass, and all he could really do was pick up blockers. Like he was out there. But when you look at the issues that the Colts have had at running back, he kind of fixes pretty much all of them. Like they don't need somebody like a CJ Spiller to run around in the backfield. Like they've pretty much got that covered. Like their running backs have been able to get open at will, just due to the fact that Luck and Hilton and these other guys are able to stretch the field. Practicality-wise, it makes sense. The issue, like you already brought up, is the fact that he's 32 and they gave him a 3-year deal. I like the moves that they've made. Like Trent Cole's a smart pickup for them.
I think that's a really good pickup for them.
Yeah, same with the Andre Johnson deal. Like if that ends up actually happening the way it's been reported so far, that's a really smart move. Like they don't want to be relying on Dante Moncrief and a bunch of backups to play across from T.Y. Hilton. Because if one of these jackass Steelers safeties takes out T.Y. Hilton over the middle on one play, then the Colts are out of the playoffs. Like that's how flimsy they'd be if they didn't make some sort of move. But yeah, no, I like every move the Colts have made. It's just I don't know if they're enough. I know I mentioned this earlier, but I felt like that's a team that needed to upgrade 3 offensive linemen and 7 defensive starters in order to be really competitive, just because they were so below average at so many spots. And
I have to agree with that, especially offensive line and defensive line.
As long as they don't run into the Patriots, I think that they're they're pretty much Super Bowl bound if they can get through a path that doesn't go through the Patriots. Now, this is a good team.
I have a feeling that people are going to be watching the Patriots tape of them, not just this past year, but the previous years, and see how the Patriots have been consistently not just beating them, but obliterating them. And they're going to learn from that. It's not just, constantly pounding the football. It's, taking certain things away from Luck. So part of it is getting that offensive line. I don't have the confidence in Costanzo that many Colts fans have. And while I do think Herman's is better than whatever they had at guard that whole year, who's their center? I don't know who their center is. Is Charles still good? Does he still have knees? I don't know who their left guard is. I don't have a lot of confidence in that offensive line, and I think that you really need to protect your asset there in Andrew Luck. And that's for that defensive line. I mean, come on, the way they're constantly getting pounded. Who's their inside linebacker now? Is it still DeQuell Jackson? Or is he a free agent?
No, I'm pretty sure that's a good question, actually.
Well, he wasn't even good. Whenever he played against the Patriots, he was abysmal.
They gave him way too much money.
Yeah, they did. And I think that they're a lot poorer for it, so they need an upgrade over there. I think Trent Cole's an upgrade over either Eric Walden or Bjorn Werner.
Agreed. But I think I also, to go back to what one of you guys said about it's still early, Colts still have a lot to play around with.
That's true. That's it's scary, actually. It is very scary.
I think that they would be my Super Bowl favorites out of the AFC if they can avoid the Patriots. Just as a matchup problem. I think that if it's literally anyone but the Patriots that they go up against in the AFC Championship game, then they take over and they make the Super Bowl.
I'm not sure whether last year they would have beaten the Ravens.
I think they would have beaten the Ravens convincingly.
Hell no.
All right, I think we can just move on.
They suck fucking cop.
Let's just move on to the next topic. I think there's a really good button at the end of the topic.
Thank you for the input, man.
We gotta have him on more often. That was great.
I want to talk. There's one other deal that I was curious about because I didn't like it at all, but I think a lot of the places that I've read have panned this deal as a success, and that's Jerry Hughes for $45 million. I didn't
The
get that one
Bills
at all.
really wanted him back. The Bills were really, really, really into retaining him, so they got, I guess, a little bit desperate, and they pulled the trigger.
Wasn't Jerry Hughes terrible when he played under Rex Ryan? Is that a thing I remember? He was like, he got like a couple sacks and then he just disappeared again.
Jerry Hughes never played under Rex Ryan. He
thought
played
he played for
in
the Jets a year.
Indianapolis.
Are you thinking of Vernon Golston?
You're thinking of Vernon Golston or Arthur Motes?
I'm not thinking of Arthur Motes either. I thought Jerry Hughes played a year for the Jets. I guess I'm wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure he played just for Indianapolis and then he went to Buffalo. I could look it up.
This is true.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, there's somebody else I was thinking of who flashed in for the Jets for like half a season and then disappeared.
I know who you're talking about.
Who?
It's shit actually. Fuck.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's on the tip of my tongue, but I could have sworn.
It's not Aaron Maben, is it?
Aaron Maben, that's who.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey, wait, there it is.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah, I was thinking of Aaron Maben.
They were
Jerry
two
Hughes reminds
different.
me of Aaron Maben. I don't like the deal at all. I know he played well last year, but
I mean, it's one of those deals that like I don't feel like it's going to burn you just solely because you have Rex Ryan, so they're going to get some value out of him. And
22.
It's not a good contract. Like I would, especially when you compare it to something like what Brandon Graham got. But
right, exactly.
But we can't really compare everybody's deal to Brandon Graham because the Brandon Graham deal was signed early and nobody else really got a chance to do that, and there's no other like Brandon Graham analog on the market.
Right. I guess, but I think it's more, if in that case, it's more the Eagles having an excellent front office. They always get good deals that are very cap friendly and have team protecting provisions down the road.
So, are there any deals that you'd really like to see in the future?
With people who are still in the market?
Yeah, like, assign various unsigned free agents to various teams. What do you think would be some good fits?
I think there are a lot of teams that need a guy like Stevie Johnson. I still like Stevie Johnson a lot. I think he can do a lot.
Oh, is that you saying that, or is that duo? Because Stevie Johnson can't catch. That sounds like a perfect duo player.
Well, don't make him a number one like Buffalo had.
Or a number 3 like he was in San Francisco when he couldn't do anything there either.
Well, I'm not sure that was his fault. There was a lot of problems with San Francisco at the time.
Yeah, they weren't getting much production out of anyone, including some of the people they got production out of in previous years. I mean, does that mean Crabtree's terrible too? Come on.
I mean, I don't think Crabtree ever came back from the Achilles thing properly. Like, he's had foot and ankle issues since, and I don't know. I'm not sure if he's fixable at this point. I hope he is. Like, he's still a reliable, like, receiver. He's just, it seems like he can't get in and out of cuts anymore. It kind of has, like, that Hakeem Nicks look to him now, where he just, like, it's almost like he's just running big ovals for his routes, like, rather than, like, making sharp breaks in and out and, like, actually making moves on corners. It's like, he'll beat nobody. Like, when he's got an open field, he'll make the play, but otherwise, it's just like, I don't know. I'm kind of out on that guy, and I think a lot of other people are too.
I think the Seahawks should go after, and I think their cap situation allows for one more big move, even with the Graham addition. I think they should go after Wisniewski for a deal, because I think they have just enough room.
Wisniewski's the one I really want to see him signed. I really like that guy.
I like him a lot too. I'm not sure the Seahawks are the best fit, although obviously, like, if they could fit him in, that'd be a good get for them. I've heard a lot of rumors linking Jabal Sheard to the Seahawks, which would be like the most Seahawks move ever, and I'd be really pissed off about it because Jabal Sheard's fucking good, and he'd actually get to play 4-3 end again, and that would just be unfair to have him and Averill and fucking what's his name? The guy whose name I'm forgetting. The other one that's good.
Michael Bennett?
Yeah, Michael Bennett. I knew it was Michael something. I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's less like specific fits out there and more just players that I like that I think should get like a good deal from somebody that's going to give them playing time. Like Bruce Carter's out there, and I think somebody should pay that guy. Like somebody should overpay that guy for his upside and just let him develop into his own on a team where he's actually like going to be able to start and not be contested constantly by like random practice squad players and the fucking pig from Charlotte's Web. Somebody's got to go out and pay fairly. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know whether he can actually play in a 3-4 or not, but he's the one guy that everybody seems to want, even though there's like all these issues surrounding him.
Right.
I think the real question this offseason is which team's fan base is going to be crazy enough to accept signing Greg Hardy and or Percy Harvin.
Ooh, that's a good question. Now, Percy Harvin, Man, the real issue there is what's he going to do to the locker room, because he heard about the shit that went down in Seattle. And, I mean, he only left New York because of cap reasons, but, like, a lot of people are connecting him to the Patriots. Honestly, I cannot see that fit in with the locker room at all.
I can't see it fit football-wise, to be honest. I mean, who's going to play outside for that team? Like, you're just
We're going to go back to LaFell and Edelman. Edelman played 50% of snaps on the outside this season and 51% last season.
I mean, I'm not saying Edelman's not a passable outside wide receiver. I'm saying that part of his value comes from moving him around the formation. And when you've got Harvin and Edelman and Amendola as three of your top four receivers, assuming Amendola's still there, which I think he will be, because there's just not really much incentive to cut him unless you're really desperate for that, like, $1.5 million cap room.
Yeah, there's almost no reason to cut him now. Yeah, they're not going to get any relief. Again, I think it all depends on LaFell. Oh, wait, we still have Brandon Gibson.
Yeah, that's right. You signed Brandon Gibson.
There we go. That's one of my outside receivers. He's not even an outside receiver. I don't even know why
he's not. That. Like, he's just...
No,
he's not going to make the team. Like,
he's like 2013's Michael Jenkins.
Whatever happened to Kimbrel Tompkins and Zach Sudfield?
Oh, wait, here's our outside receiver.
You mean
Aaron Dobson.
Aren't they both on the Jets now?
No, Aaron Dobson is...
No, Kenbrell Tompkins. Like, isn't he on the Jets too? Oh, Raiders?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That happened midway through the season. This season. He was on our team at the beginning of the season. Go back to week 1, he caught passes against the Miami Dolphins. Remember that terrible stretch?
And I believe that Greg Hardy is technically free of legal issues at this point.
Yeah, he's in the clear. The charges were dropped. But
so the NFL, he's already been suspended for most of a year, which is, I think it's the entire year actually. So it's 12 games more than the mandatory.
He played week 1, and
that's
then
right. He did play week. Yeah. So that's 11 games more than the maximum under the CBA, and he has no legal issues anymore. So it would have to be a Roethlisberger style punishment, and he only got 4 games, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's 4 games, because I remember they went 3-1 with just the dumpster of the dumpster, Dennis Dixon, I believe.
All right,
so I think he can't be suspended anymore, can he?
I don't think he can. Although technically his suspension wasn't league mandated; it was from the team. Like, he was put on the commissioner's exempt list, which is like the only. I mean, it's the same thing with the AP issue. Like there's. If the league wants to suspend them, they can. It's just a matter of whether they're going to get like credit for like time served on these like team-induced suspensions, which I doubt Greg Hardy is going to get suspended. But even so, like, bringing that guy into your locker room with everything that's happened in the past calendar year is just like it's like shooting yourself in the foot.
It's a PR nightmare. Yeah. Like, I don't think that we saw earlier, like, he might have been linked to the San Francisco 49ers. Have they learned nothing from the Ray McDonald incident? It's not going to work.
You're going to pair that guy with Alden Smith and rely on them. Maybe that's why the Jaguars signed away Dan Scuda. They need to take the character guy away from the 49ers. Now that their glue's gone, they're just going to fall apart. Like, what they're really trying to do is build a credible locker room that other veterans want to come play in.
Well, they still have Blaine Gabbert.
By the way, I got to say, Walt really kind of gave it to the 49ers on there. He was like, was it 0% grade, Matt Millen grade, or whatever? It's like, it's a 2-year deal for $2 million. It's a backup quarterback deal.
He's making barely over the veteran minimum. Like, who cares? Like, you could sign me for that deal. It wouldn't be like egregiously awful. If Kaepernick gets hurt, you're gonna go 4-12 anyway. Who gives a shit who's taking snaps? Like,
what do you mean Kaepernick gets hurt? Gabbert's a starter. They're trading Kaepernick.
In that case, we get the cheapest starting quarterback in the league. The draft ninja strikes again.
This hot take is brought to you by YetiFootball.com.
Their 2012 draft.
Can I just point out something that I noticed that I thought was really, really odd? Like, did anybody else notice these like oddly, strangely high fucking contracts going out to tight ends? Like Lee Smith for 3 years, $9 million. Ed Dixon for 3 years, $8 million. Like
Owen Daniels
for 3 years, $12 million. Like
Julius Thomas.
Well, I mean, even ignoring the Julius Thomas thing, 'cause he's kind of an outlier. Just like all these, like, good. I mean, like Virgil Green got 3 years, $9 million. And I like Virgil Green. Like, I thought that was the one of the 4 that was fine. But just like all these like backup tight ends and like guys that you want like playing like 40% of your snaps max are getting these really big deals. And Lance Kendricks getting 4 years, $19 million. Like,
that one was weird. That's the weird one to me. I
How did they trick the guy into signing him?
I can handle the Owen Daniels deal, but the Kendricks deal, he has done nothing at all.
Big O hasn't done anything for me in a very long time.
Lee Smith has like 8 career catches in 4 years.
He's
a $9 million contract. He's the new Matt Spaeth, but he's getting paid like 3 Matt Spaeths.
Matt Spaeth.
Yeah.
Hey, Duo, do you remember Matt Spaeth?
No, remind me.
Oh, side
note, I hope Ed Dixon remains a Panther for life.
3 years. 6.3 million.
Duo, you got really pissed off because apparently Matt Spaeth caught a ridiculous catch on you.
Oh yeah, I remember that bullshit. I still got that bullshit in my photo bucket somewhere.
Yeah, you linked me to it. It was like pretty stupid. It was like, look, Matt fucked up.
I got a link. I can't even explain it.
I just remember playing
so
Duo.
Egregiously bad.
I remember playing Duo in Ultimate Team when he had like this stacked roster of like 99 all 99 rated players, and I had like the starter pack team, and somehow I had fucking a 68 rated Daniel Fells go for like 300 yards receiving against him. I lost by 60, but it didn't matter because Daniel Fells was open against his gold fucking Ed Reed every time. It was the dumbest shit.
I remember we were watching a Steelers game. It was one of the GDTs, and Matt Spaeth gets like either introduced on ESPN or he catches like an 8-yard out route or something like that. And Duo's like, "Fuck Matt Spaeth." And we're like, "Really, of all people, a backup tight end?" He links to that either photo bucket or YouTube.
I honestly
look what he did to me.
I got confused. I thought Lee Smith was LJ Smith. I was like, hadn't that guy been retired for like 8 years? And
I thought
there
LJ
was
Smith was
a
an actor.
completely different person.
No, Lee Smith was a
Scott
4th round
for
pick
starting time.
from Belichick, and Belichick cut him during his rookie year. A 4th rounder during your rookie year, and he went on to Buffalo and did nothing. He was a backup to Scott Chandler.
He blocked a lot.
Good for him.
Yeah,
So
he got
did Ben
signed.
Hartsock.
He got $9 million to be a blocking tight end. Like,
Why doesn't Ben Hartsock get that?
why didn't
miss
former Panthers secret weapon Gary Bartage get that kind of deal?
Offensive weapon.
He's gonna be the difference maker. He's the reason we're gonna win the South this year.
He's not here to defend himself. That's really mean.
He's offline.
Believe it or not, Gary Barnage is not a licensed offensive weapon.
Shocking, I know.
Am I the only one that wants the
Lethal Weapon
Ravens to sign
7
CJ Mosley?
starring Gary Barnage. Who'd you want the Ravens to sign?
CJ Mosley.
Oh, the other CJ Mosley. So everyone can be confused for all time.
Wait, there's another one?
Yeah, the one that plays D-tackle for Detroit.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
It's not funny unless they're offensive players. Because I'll never forget making Leoge pay $5 for the wrong Chris Givens.
The wrong Chris Givens! The Saints Chris Givens! That was the greatest auction draft crank of all time!
The funny part about it is that the real Chris Givens isn't worth $5 either, but he's still paid.
It was brilliant.
That was beautiful.
God, I was so happy that of all people, Loaf got stuck with him. Like the prodigal Jew Lord spending his 5 shekels on a fucking 8th-string Saints receiver. Oh my god.
Speaking of spending a lot of money on someone who doesn't deserve it,
Dan Skuta.
How about the Torrey Smith deal, Duo?
Oh, you just killed him. You sent him to cardiac arrest.
Yeah, I guess so.
He misses Torrey Smith
Sorry,
so much.
I was looking for that. Oh shit! Hold on.
Matt Spaeth video from like 2003.
He's gotta find
it here somewhere.
No, we're asking you. What do you think about the Torrey Smith deal?
That was.
You're not getting an answer from him, dude. He's really into this Matt Spaeth. Dude fucking wronged him on some like primal level.
I literally forgot he existed until.
You know who keeps showing up no matter how many times like he's proven himself? Why does Dante Rosario still get snapped? Like, he shows up out of nowhere every year on some random
It's
team.
all because of that one fucking 4-touchdown game he had with the Chargers that pissed off all the Antonio Gates owners a couple years ago.
Even no, it was even before that. I remember
It's
watching.
because he's animated.
John Elway was doing literally everything he could to keep Tim Tebow from being a thing, and they're trying to drive against the Jets and like to win the game, and all of a sudden he throws a pass and the tight end is just like completely out of position and just dives wildly in the wrong direction. And it's Dante Rosario. I'm like, why the hell is this guy even on the field?
Oh God, Trey.
It was like the Chargers trying to run the 2-minute offense with back spasms veteran Jared Gaith fucking rolling around on the field like Hainsworth. They're trying to call timeout. All right, do we have anything else we wanted to touch on from free agency?
I do want to talk about
Smith deal. It's like if you want a guy that's only gonna run a 9 route and can barely catch, you can just get a guy like that out of the 5th, 6th round.
Like duo favorite Justin Hunter, or duo favorite Marquise Lee,
or you can sign Peace.
And at least a guy like that might have some upside. Like after 4 years, he might develop into something else. But with Torrey Smith, you know what you're getting.
No, whoa, hold on now. You used to defend Torrey Smith saying that he developed his route tree after he got to the NFL. What makes you think that Marquise Goodwin is going to get the same sort of thing, or Justin Hunter?
He hates Torrey since he cut his hair. It's the only explanation.
Josh, wasn't Justin Hunter in Fred Dryer?
Oh God damn.
Gavin's going to listen to that. He's going to be like,
I honestly don't remember saying that, but it might have been something I said, but I was completely wrong about that. Like he didn't develop it at all.
I don't actually understand why you hate Torrey. Like I just don't see it at all. But
he's not on the Ravens anymore.
Like, yeah, but he was so happy.
I never said I hate him. I've just said that I wouldn't pay $7-8 million for him.
Would you take, sorry to interrupt, would you take Dwayne Bowe? Do you think that he would be a good addition to the Ravens? I guess not, alright.
Yeah, there's nobody I really want for that roster spot.
I think another interesting trend this
No,
so far this
I was saying I'm not sure, honestly.
Well,
welcome back to the podcast.
Were you just like staring at this screen, looking at like?
He was trying to remember who Dwayne Bowe was because he got PTSD from Medspace.
No, I actually saw one earlier. It's like if Andre Johnson didn't go to the Colts and instead he went to the Ravens, I could be like Derek Mason a couple years ago.
Well,
I mean that would have been great for the Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It would have blocked future Ravens #1 receiver Stephon Diggs from getting his snaps, but
I could definitely see Flacco throwing to Andre Johnson. I think that'd be really awesome. I think it'd be good for both players. I think it'd be good for the team.
Yeah, and plus no compensatory pick attached. Like, just keep raking in those freebies. Which we could also do with Dwayne Bowe. I think Dwayne Bowe would be like worth a roster spot. Like, I don't think he's good.
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever. He can be a decent second receiver across from Steve Smith. Like, sure.
Do you
whatever,
guys
I don't
want
care.
like Brandon Gibson? Would that be all right?
I mean, if you're giving him away, then I still don't really want him. Like,
damn it.
I mean, if you'll take back Albert McClellan, I'll consider it.
Oh, hey, let's not do this.
One of the interesting trends this offseason, I think, is it's very early in the free agent period so far, and we've already seen a lot of the prove-it deals that usually come along much later in the process. Like, Harriman's got a prove-it deal, as it did. I think the Chiefs got a wonderful deal with Tyvon Branch for $2 million.
That's actually the best deal I've seen so far.
Yeah, and there's also, that was a good one. There's also been a couple others, such as the Cardinals got two. They got Lamar Woodley with a prove-it deal for, I believe, the veteran minimum, which was $850K.
It's great, yeah. And Sean Witherspoon was the other one, and that's a really solid deal too.
That's a ridiculously good deal.
I think Sean Witherspoon for 1 year, $4 million is an absolute just 5-finger discount for a player of his caliber.
And let's not forget Brandon Gibson getting a 1-year deal from the Patriots. So
we can never
$800,000. He's gonna be cut in camp.
I don't know. He might prove it, dude. That's why I signed a prove it deal. That's why they call it
Michael
that, dude.
Jenkins.
I mean, there's been he's had flashes, but his flashes have been for like a quarter of a game.
Okay, look,
and not
I'm the
like,
Patriots homer here.
He's never had extended success for more than a game or two, and that's I know I'm seriously discussing Brandon Gibson right now, which is my primary mistake. But Roy Halou for 2 years, $4 million, I think is a massive overpay, even for the Raiders who need to spend cap space. I think giving him anything more than minimum is a bad deal.
You really hate Roy Halou. You're trying to sneak that one in there. Like, no, it's not going to fly.
I don't know why you're so against Roy Halou. There's nothing there for me to hate. He's just a Halou character.
I don't think he's good. I think he's bad.
This must be fantasy related.
What? I wish.
Yeah, it was that year that Roy Halou got turf toe and got cucked by Alfred Morris when he came back. Like that's why he hates him, dude.
No, I was one of the guys who got Alfred Morris right before the game began in week 1 on like 3 different teams, and kept him for the rest of the year. What I don't like about Halou is that I don't think he's a very good blocker, and for a guy who's primarily a third down back, I think it's a fatal weakness. And I don't understand why you would pay a guy like that any money, because he hasn't been shown the ability to run the ball between the tackles since his freshman year, or his first year in the NFL. And his running ability otherwise has degraded since then. And I'm very suspicious of running backs whose abilities degrade from their rookie year to their sophomore year and so on and so forth, instead of improving before eventually hitting a cliff when they get to like 30 or so. I think that it's a very worrisome sign. I wouldn't want to give him any money.
I think that's kind of a misnomer, because his rookie year he was pretty good, and then his second year he had that turf toe injury and missed effectively the whole season. And since then we haven't seen too much of him. So to say he's like degraded over the years is kind of inaccurate, I'd say. I mean, he's just kind of been a guy that doesn't see the field much the past 2 years, and that really has nothing to do with his own play and everything to do with the fact that Morris has earned the playing time that he's getting.
And I'll admit Lewis had a couple of good games, but that's it. I mean, most of the time when he sees the field, he averages like 2 yards per carry. It seems to me, maybe it's a biased sample, but I think he's had 1 or 2 games where he popped off like 100 yards receiving, I believe, in 1 game. But I don't think he can block well enough to be a third down back. I pretty much oppose anything that takes carries away from Latavius Murray, because I think could be an excellent back if the Raiders would actually give him the ball, and they seem dead set on never doing that.
I think if you're paying Halou that much money, I think you're paying him too much considering how much he's played in the past few years.
I mean, it's not much. It's $2 million a year for 2 years. It's not
how much
good.
of it is guaranteed.
I just worry about what that says about the Raiders' process in general.
Well, we already know everything we need to know about the Raiders' process in general.
No, yeah,
I don't need a Roy Halou contract to like convince me of that. But yeah, no, I pretty much covered everything I want to get to, other than how interesting I find what the Bills are doing. They're just committing fully to like running a power run game, and just like they're like, we don't have a quarterback, so this is our best chance at winning. We're gonna have a really good defense. We're gonna have a really strong running game. We're gonna go out and chase all the tackles we can in free agency and hope we get somebody. And if we don't, hopefully find somebody through the draft. They're probably gonna go out and sign 2 more linemen. I mean, they went out and got Jerome Felton. They made the shady move. They were in Bulaga allegedly until the end. I think it's interesting with game manager Matt Castle. I think the Bills, like, I'm not sure this actually works for them, but I like the direction they're going. Like, I like what they're trying. They at least seem like they have a real plan, which so many teams that are constantly in like playoff shit limbo never seem to have. So
I think you're more interested in what they're doing because it's interesting and not necessarily because it's going to be good. I mean, what's the last good team to actually go with that? When was it the 49ers when they lost to the Giants in the NFC Championship? Was it the last good power running mediocre quarterback
Yeah, like
team?
I said, I don't know that it's going to work, but I like the fact that they have a plan, and I don't think they can really address their quarterback weakness at all this year. So, like, what else are you going to do other than just fucking give up? You have a new owner who clearly wants to win. You know, the fan base is fired up because they had a pretty surprisingly decent last year, and you know, they don't want to lose any of the fans that they managed to bring back to Buffalo. Like, if you're like an 8 to 9 win Bills team and you are in the playoff hunt till week 15, like, that's a win for you, right?
Trade for Breeze.
Would you take Adriel Jeremiah Manuel back straight up for Breeze? You fine with that deal?
Hell no.
Of course
All right.
not.
Well, then what are they going to give you? A first round? Oh, they can't. They already gave it away for Sammy Watkins.
Honestly, at this point, I would take a couple seconds. Second this year, second next year for. I don't think he's good enough to warrant anything more.
I really I have no idea what in the hell they should do with Breeze at this point. I think like
they're trying to dump him. What I've seen from multiple sources is the Saints have put literally everyone on the block. There's no one who is above being traded except for Gillette because they had to restructure his contract.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who won't be traded. Cameron Jordan's on the market. Drew Brees is on the market.
I heard they called
Ingram's
the Giants
not
about
because they just
Cameron
re-signed
Jordan.
him.
Yeah.
But literally everyone else is on the market right now. And that's the plan with Brees is dump him because he won't restructure his contract. It's $24 million cap this year. They want picks. They want a lot of picks, which again is why I'm so confused at the Matt Unger part of the deal. But that we already discussed.
Duo, what is up with the pic you just posted? The ball pit one? Is he still here?
He was at a manga convention. That was his hour.
I thought, wait,
Same.
isn't this like a Tumblr convention where they all get the ball pit?
That's what that was.
That
It's all
ball
the same
pit is
to me.
way too nice to be at DashCon, dude.
Well, there's a black person in it, so.
All right. Well, I think we pretty much hit everything with free agency. I guess it's time to wrap up. Any closing
And there's a
thoughts,
lot
you guys?
more to come too. I'm actually really
Yeah.
excited about what's
Yeah,
coming
we're
because there's
gonna-
still plenty of.
Two that I'm looking for, well, three, I guess I'm looking for, at least for the Patriots, because it's really the only team I give a shit about. Jabal Sheard, I'd like him to especially replace Ninkovich. Yes, finally, your anti-Ninkovich opinions have caught up with me, Cam. Atiba Rubin, I think he's got to be our next Wilfork, although I think Saligo would be our next Wilfork. So, I don't know, I like Rubin. I think he could be all right. And CJ Spiller, if we can swing a deal for that, but I think he's going to go to someone who's going to pay him a little bit more.
I want to see if there's any team dumb enough to pay Brian Rackpole out of guaranteed money. I think.
Oh, geez, I really hope it's not the Patriots. I heard him linked to the Patriots, and I don't want him getting paid a lot of guaranteed
I think
money.
the Titans are going to give him way too much guaranteed money.
Oh, that'd be
I
perfect.
hope I hope it's the fucking Falcons. I want to see the Falcons try to make him play 4-3 end. It'd be so funny.
Oh, jeez. That works on Madden, though.
Ask my boy Duo about that. He'll get.
It's
Duo,
tricky
you
to
know,
throw all
the
those outside
interesting-
linebackers to
Justin
defensive
Forsett, I
ends.
think is interesting too, because he's.
I found it.
Go.
all right, Matt Spaeth is here.
Post in the topic. I want to see it.
But I think the other interesting one, because there's never been, I don't think, a case like Justin Forsett's where he's been a journeyman / completely irrelevant in the scheme of things for 6-7 years, and then suddenly he has an excellent year as a 29-year-old and is now in the free agent market. I think to see the precedent that's set with him is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm hoping the dude gets paid. I heard him linked to the Redskins of all teams, actually. So I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah, I think it's a little strange, but I don't know. I don't know how effective he can be. Like he's shown, and every year he was effective. He was in a Kubiak offense, so I don't know. Maybe he's just a really good compliment for that. But I think he's an effective running back. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to break the bank for him. And allegedly, the Ravens are interested in Pierre Thomas to replace him, which I like a lot. So I don't know. I hope somebody pays him though.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good story. All right, if we're closing out now, I think we can put the rest off till next time because by the time that happens, there will be twice as much to discuss.
Those fucking Matt Spaeth pictures
Oh my god.
from 2009. He just didn't forget about it.
This has been Cam, Chris, and Alex talking football, and all glory to Matt Spaeth and Lord Ray.
Stay black.